Butet,
Yes.
what's your take on this? Why does culture matter?
Indonesia, we have so many languages. Yeah, we have 500 languages. So everywhere we go, we hear different languages, and it also so many stereotypes belong to us. And so every time we hear names, just by names, we know how different is this person, and you sometimes treat them differently as well. So cultures and languages will represent and will make the enrich of the world, I think, and that's why we need to preserve that.
Enrich the world.
Yeah, enrich the world.
Abel.
Because when everything just the same, then you don't need countries, you don't need states.
I wonder whether
Just
that
one-
might make
one
the world a
word.
more peaceful place.
Yeah.
I'm
We
afraid,
just all become the
But
same person.
it's not the
I'm
same
afraid
case.
there's a nice example of that. There's a wonderful website called Ethnologue, which gives you information about the languages of the world, and they have a table there listing an index of linguistic diversity for all the nations of the world. And if you look at it, in the bottom 10 nations for linguistic diversity, you will find Rwanda. That worked really well for them in terms of stopping violence.
To have a diversity of languages.
They don't have diversity of language. They're very homogeneous with language, and they still had interethnic violence. So I don't think looking to homogeneity of language to cause peace is not necessarily a sensible position.
Okay. Abel.
Having a mono-language all over the world, I think, looks like English is dominating everywhere in the world because of the trade and economic interaction between the major countries. But like in Timor-Leste, we have over 30 languages. And when you go to the market, people barter. They speak different languages, but in the market, the sign languages, if you got a tapioca exchange for salt, then it's quite fair when one speak with one language, the other receive with the other language, but the object is that salt and tapioca exchange. And so it's a colorful, and I think for us, we really need to strive to preserve those languages, because the diversity within the country gives the color, makes it interesting. Otherwise it would be boring.
Well, language is only one measure of culture. Cultural diversity has so many other features, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, apart from the language, there are other traditional rituals that come with it. And for example, when you have the lisan, which is the traditional laws that has to be imposed on a village or on a sub-district. That is the traditional law that locals do understand. But the traditional law comes with the spiritual power with it. And that's why it's much more powerful to have a traditional law than the law in the books in the city or in the parliament or in the government. Because of this spiritual power that comes with it, makes people fearful and they need to obey it. Otherwise, your spirits will punish you and you get sick. So, in a sense, it is good to have an order like that. Yeah. So, I mean, these are the things that I think cultures and traditions that need to be preserved. But the most important aspect is how in modern day living you join that in a complementary form, that you're not cutting the roots of your culture, which is your identity. Like for us, just to say that why did we fight 24 years not accepting being 27th province of Indonesia? Why? Because of what we are, who we are, and that our cultural identity made us who we are, and we don't want to be enslaved to anyone. And this is why perhaps 500 years of Portuguese colonization, then another 24 years of Indonesian occupation, we finally are free. So what really made people to stand together and fight for what is ideal? And that is your cultural identity. That's what put you together, bring you together as an entity, as a society that as one. And therefore you're prepared to fight to preserve that, and you're prepared to die for it. And that's exactly what happened with us.